like.
Mhm.
Thank you. This is the January 15th, 2025 meeting of the Appointments and Negotiations Committee. Call the meeting to order. Roll call, we have the three members of the committee, Corey Fellows, Karen Shoup, and William Donovan, all present. Public comment, there is no public present, so we will pass over that. Item 4 on the agenda is the approval of minutes of October 9, 2024. And I would ask for a motion.
So moved.
Neither Corey nor I were present.
Did you review the minutes? I think typically if you've just at least reviewed them and feel like they're accurate.
I will second the motion to approve the minutes. Any comments or corrections?
Nope.
All in favor? It's unanimous, thank you. Town clerk updates.
So just so the two new members are aware, last, I think it was in October, we decided to start doing this. when Counselor Shoup was chair. This was kind of added as a placeholder of if anything came up from the time the agenda went out until today, because we were having people submit applications like the day before, and I was sending them to the committee, and there was a lot of confusion going on, and a lot of emails going back and forth.
Sure.
So that's kind of what this item is. I will say we did get one applicant since the packets went out. It was William Sedlak. He is looking at long range planning board, SEDCO, and zoning board of appeals, with his first choice being planning board.
Okay.
I brought applications for everyone. Just if you guys wanted to review, just a quick overview. He does have zoning board experience. He was on Portland zoning board. He's an attorney. He's vice chair of Maine Share, volunteer Maine commissioner and rental housing advisory board in Portland. He was also formerly on, and he's current Friends of Scarborough Library. So if you guys want to include that in today's packet, I do have these for you. It's up to you.
Yes, and I think kind of how we left it was if we do get an application within that time small frame and we felt like it was worth, maybe we would table that committee at that meeting if we felt like we wanted to reevaluate. I don't mean to do, but I think that's just,
Well.
What's the
well,
thinking?
He's applying for multiple committees, right?
Yes.
So I don't wanna pass all those committees over. I mean, it's late.
Yeah.
And he'll have the opportunity at a future time.
His application's good for 1 year.
Yep.
So anytime there's an opening on any of these boards for 1 year, you guys would see him in the packet.
Just process wise, for my information, is there typically any staff or other communication with applicants about the status of their application, whether they are being passed over or reconsidered or?
Yes and no, I guess. We did put, back in October, a clause on the top of the application when they do it, letting them know it closes. For your application to be considered at the next meeting, you have to do it the week prior. So if this does happen, someone wouldn't be upset they got passed over.
Okay.
When they do submit it, they do get an automated email that says, thank you for your application. It will, go through a review process, and it's good for 1 year. I reach out to people who have been selected. I do not reach out to ones
Okay.
who have been overlooked.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sure they inquire.
Sure, yeah,
Some people do, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, I know, and it's already a lot of work.
Yeah,
So,
there's a lot of people that we end
Yeah.
up with sometimes, so.
yeah, thank you.
Item 6 on the agenda, future of the senior advisory board. Do we want to get a report on that?
sure, I can speak to that briefly, because, so basically that's kind of been a defunct board and I don't think there's no activity. There isn't, I don't even think we have a full board.
We don't have a full board, and I think for the past year, maybe longer, we haven't had applications
Okay.
for it either.
And so I was also the liaison to the Community Services Rec Advisory Board. And so at the time, the Community Services our director, Todd, he was that liaison, but he also did all of the senior programs. And so what we kind of figured out was Todd actually did have the ear of the seniors, but it was this new program, like the programs that he runs at the hub, they have their own group. And he
Yes,
was getting a
yes.
lot of really good feedback. And no one wanted to commit to like a board, but they're happy to give feedback. So we
So
can't
we
get,
have an alternative
so
way.
we have an
of getting
alternative.
Input.
And then one of the other recommendations was to maybe on the Community Services Rec Advisory Board, update that chart, the language to say that we will specifically reserve 1 seat or 2 for a senior, guaranteeing that they have voice, at least on the Community Services Board. Right now, it's not an issue. We have a couple seniors on there. They're great and they're spread out throughout the town. But I think if we're gonna get rid of a senior advisory board, we should at least be like, we do like seniors and we do have
Yeah.
another solution for it.
Yeah.
I also don't like having a board. We have too many boards. And if we have a board that no one's
Yeah. no,
participating
no,
in, so I think the next step was to kick this to rules and policies and maybe, or I don't know.
I think it was gonna go right to council.
I think there was, so just a little bit more background.
Yeah.
2 years ago, there was an active effort by, I think it was sort of a joint effort between appointments and negotiations and rules and policies to look at our 302A, which is our boards and committees manual, and see if there's an opportunity to consolidate some of those committees. And this is one that came up in that context. I think it probably should go to rules and policies because we've sort of designated that committee as the one that oversees 302 and 302A. That's been the interpretation for probably the last 5 years or so. So I think that's a question that should be posed about discontinuing a committee, and possibly modifying a charge for another to account for that.
You think we should go to council first and say, or do you think we should?
For just like whether there's support for the full council to consider or evaluate.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's up to, I mean,
I
you're
guess
3
it'll
of 7, I mean, I think, you can pull people offline, but I think.
Yeah,
I don't know what
so
that's-
you think it belongs, in a different committee?
I think, yes, I think that if, rules and policies is the appropriate committee to consider any changes to 302A, which include dissolving a committee.
Yeah, no, I think it makes more sense to go to rules and policies.
Yes,
I don't see anyone having an issue.
let's push it to rules and policies, and Liam can make that arrangement.
Which means I'll be seeing. I'm
There you
sharing
go.
that, so
We'll get you some more
There you go.
business.
We'll
good to
come up
have
with some
something
other
on the
stuff.
agenda.
Yeah. So we'll follow up with you about when you wanna get with that.
Great.
There's some carryover work too, Counselor, on some rules and policy stuff as well
Great.
from last year.
Thank you.
Good, that takes care of item 6 on the agenda, and 7 review applications. And we had a very good effort, I thought, by the staff to allow us to go through that process and understand what's going on. So we'll start with the ADA Advisory Board, because it's the first one with the letter A, and it also requires no action at this time.
We'll start with low hanging fruit.
So I think we can agree, and stop me if I am saying something inconsistent with your own view. We'll go to Board of Assessment Review.
Mhm.
2 vacancies, one is a full voting member and one is a first alternate. The recommendation is to move to appoint Richard Skillman as the full voting member. Crockett as the first alternate with a term to expire 2025. Katerina as second alternate with a term to expire 2027.
Mhm.
And whatever your comfort level is, we can have discussion before or after we moved the question. So why don't we say it's on the table,
Mhm.
it's open for discussion.
I mean, I'm fine with that recommendation. And, I think, I know Richard and Jean Marie, obviously, I think would be good valuable members on that committee.
Yeah, and I think Jean Marie said that this was something that was of interest to her, so,
well, and with her
I
background.
agree with her, with
Yeah.
her, with the
Right.
real estate license and background.
Yeah.
and Nick Cloutier
It's a
is,
good fit.
so,
So,
It's also board, I will say, Nick did mention, I don't know, I think it might have been in his memo, they don't meet very often.
No, they don't.
It's very rare that they meet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, I can imagine.
so should I make a motion to
Yeah,
appoint Richard
please do.
Silkman? Is it Skillman or Silkman? Am I?
Still. He was on the charter review.
Okay, that's,
okay.
Yep.
yeah, and that's why I'm like, we're talking
Down
about,
Pine Point.
okay, yeah, okay.
I'll fix that.
No, it's fine. I was like, I
Apologies.
want to make sure I'm thinking of the right guy. Move to appoint Richard Silkman as a full voting member with a term to expire in 2027. Promote Leroy Crockett as the first alternate with a term to expire in 2025, and appoint Jean Marie Katerina as the second alternate with a term to expire in 2027.
Motion's on the table, do I have a second?
Second,
Further discussion? See none, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Coastal Waters and Harbor Advisory. Three vacancies, which include 3 members with terms to expire all a few weeks ago, December 31, 2024. 3 full voting members is what we are looking to fulfill. We have the staff recommendation of Darren Granada. Harbor Master recommends reappointment of Vincent Clough, Andrew Fortunato, and Alfred Morrow. Discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Vincent and Andrew have been very active and on that committee and very helpful. And I think Andrew would be what, a new appointment? I mean,
These are all three.
Alfred, okay,
Alfred's on it currently,
Is he?
is their secretary right now.
okay, yep. So I know they have a really good working committee right now, so Darren's been on that for years, even before he was the harbor master, so I think that's a good recommendation.
Any further discussion? Accept the motion?
Do you want me to do the? Vincent Clow, am I saying that right? Clough,
Well,
Andrew Fortunato and Alfred Morrow as full voting members with terms to expire in 2027.
you have a second?
Second,
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Community Service Advisory Board, 3 vacancies. 2 are full voting members and 1 is a first alternate. We have Nicole Hall giving us a recommendation, and Tom Hall for the reappointment of Amanda Doherty, Ellen Coughlin Quinn as full voting members, and appointment of Brittany Jackson or Alfred Morrow as first alternate. And then the under recommendation, Brittany Jackson
Mhm.
was the person identified as the alternate. Discussion.
I serve as liaison to that committee, so I can tell you that Amanda and Ellen are amazing members. Amanda's an attorney and Ellen is an extremely involved mom with 3 young kids. Brittany is a new volunteer who I think is great to see that she's willing to volunteer on different committees. I believe she's younger, and so I think it's good to have, we've been really lacking on that committee with getting parents involved because they're
Mhm.
kind of busy. So whenever we see a parent willing to give their time to that committee, which is good because they only meet like 6 times a year, I think that's great.
totally agree.
Yeah. That sounds good. I know several of the people on the committee and I have not talked with them specifically about this, but it sounds good. I'll take a motion.
Okay, yeah, so I move to appoint Amanda Doherty and Ellen Coughlin Quinn as full voting members with terms to expire in 2027, and appoint Brittany Jackson as the first alternate with a term to expire in 2027.
Do I have a second?
Second,
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Yeah. Conservation Commission. We have 3 vacancies, which include the 3 members with terms to expire 12/31/24, just having voted, there are 3 full voting members. We have 2 re-ups with Abel Cloud and Marla and Jessica Sargent, with Marla Zando has termed out. Okay, so with 1 term out, we have 2 re-ups. And then we have a new person. Which the recommendation being Bennett Flanders as a full voting member. And then we have Kate Bordeaux as the first alternate. Kate says she's doing better.
Oh,
We're
that's
all
good.
Happy to hear.
Yeah, no, thank you for the update.
And Cressy Maurer as second alternate with the term to start in 2027. Discussion.
Yeah, so the new appointment would be Cressy. And we're looking to, I think, reappoint Abel and Jessica. So I worked very closely with this committee. I can tell you, Jessica is a great, valuable member, and Abel is a new volunteer who has just dove right in, and we get emails from him, I think you guys have gotten. And so I love their participation. You guys know Cressy, because I mean, you
Yes,
ran
I
with
do.
her, so I think you know.
Yeah,
If any committee
She's a
was
nice
good for
lady.
Cressy, I think
Yeah.
with her background, I think she would be a really valuable member to this. I think she would
yeah,
fit
she'll
right
throw
in.
herself right in.
She will. She's willing to do the work. I think.
Yeah.
you all
we
see.
know now, she also, and not to jump ahead, but
Yep.
she's also in the mix for long range.
Yeah, and so that's one of the things I'll speak to that about, but one of the things that we've been working on, you'll see is. Like Bennett Flanders, who's on Conservation Commission, is also on Planning Board. Jessica, who is on Conservation Commission, is also on the Parks and Recreation Board. So that's one of the other things we've been working on, is trying to bridge the gap between some of those committees.
Mhm.
Where Conservation Commission and Long Range makes perfect sense, where you would want someone engaged in both those conversations. I'll speak more to that about a Long Range, but that's why I thought about that, where I was like, oh, maybe recommending her down here. I actually think she'd be great here, first of all, with her background. And so I think Cressy would be perfect for Conservation Commission.
I did add, this is new, I don't know if Counselor Shoup noticed, I did put when someone has a first choice committee or their only choice committee.
You
for the-
noted it.
I noted it
Yes.
because we've been having that struggle of there's so much information here and how to keep it like
Right.
separate, and
It is.
we're welcome to
Good.
any changes that
Good.
you guys as
Yeah.
new committee members would like to make, because I know this is something Counselor Shoup and I have gone back and forth on.
Yeah.
So this was Cressy's first.
Good.
Okay, that's good. And to me, as long as, and I definitely see that logic with some of that crossover and potential synergies, and as long as the applicant is comfortable.
Yep.
And capable, that's fine with me.
Okay, accept the motion.
Okay, so I move to appoint Abel Plod and Jessica Sargent as full voting members with term to expire in 2027. And then that'll appoint Bennett Flanders as a full voting member with a term to expire in 2026. And that moves up Kate Bordos as first alternate with a term to expire in 2026. And we're gonna appoint I don't even know how to say her name.
Crescencia.
Crescencia Mauer as the first alternate with a term to expire in 2027.
Do I have a second?
Second,
Further discussion?
No.
All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Historic Preservation Implementation, Committee. 2 vacancies, no action needed on this based on the information
This is-
presented to us.
This is another committee that has had vacancies for an extremely long time with no applicants.
Yeah,
So that might be a topic of conversation later in the year, like when we
Yes.
have a slow meeting,
Yeah.
to talk about maybe the future of that.
absolutely.
Because they do serve some value. I
Right.
mean, and so I think it's something to discuss.
I know every so often someone comes forward and expresses
Well, we,
concern over, yeah,
someone from the historic,
yeah,
like specifically went to a planning board meeting and spoke, but I
Right.
think there is
Right.
some value and
Historic
need for that.
Society.
right.
Yeah,
Uh, Good. Long Range Planning Committee, 2 vacancies, one, a full voting member and one a first alternate. And we have a present member, Portia Hirschman, who is seeking to have another term. So we have a whole bunch of people.
Mhm.
I won't go through all that, and let's see, and we have recommendations from Autumn Spear, and so I think, open for discussion.
Sure. So this is one of the ones that I think we just touched on before, where John Anderson is the liaison to that committee, and he was also feeling like maybe we should bridge the gap between the conversation with conservation and had recommended Cressy. I have you were on Long Range as well. I sit in some of those meetings and I do feel like sometimes the environmental consideration or that topic is missing from the conversation. And I think it would be helpful to, again, if, the Conservation Commission's job is to deal with the planning process and planning of the town, it might be important to have someone in both committees being able to kind of relay what's going on in that aspect, and then with the long range planning. I think, again, we have Cressy who's willing to step up, and we know she wants to do the work. We know that what her interests are and what she thinks is best for Scarborough. And I think, again, with that dynamic with that committee, it would be good to have that alternate voice.
Yeah, I would say that using Jean Marie's experience will be very helpful in this setting. I agree with the sentiment that you expressed.
Mhm.
I'd like to see, and I'm glad that Cressy, which her name has appeared already and will elsewhere. But I think the reappointment of Portia Hirschman and Jean Marie as the first alternate would be my brother's.
So, and with that being said, though, however, I think my concern is if we're recommending her for the Housing Alliance, we're putting her on 3 committees. And I do want to be equitable with people who have not been able to serve on certain committees or who have been waiting to serve on different committees. So, I don't want to be acting like we're issuing favors, honestly, to a former counselor if we put her on 3 new committees. I think that, and so I'm not against her being on it. I am uncomfortable maybe putting her on 3. So I don't know. And I think that was the information, the email that we got from John Anderson was kind of like, let's kind of choose what the best place would be. I truly feel like we want Jean Marie on Housing Alliance. I don't think that's open for discussion. And so I think that's why it was like who else would be a good fit for long-range planning? When we think about what our goals are and kind of the stuff that we're working on down the line in the next couple of years. We do have a couple other applicants. And I don't,
Yeah, this is Jean Marie's first committee choice.
Yeah.
So your point, in theory, makes sense,
okay,
not to overdo it, but
Yep.
in this case, I'd stick with Jean Marie. Because it is her first choice.
and so would you, before we vote on that, I almost wonder if we should go to Housing Alliance, because. I, again, will say, I don't know if I feel comfortable putting her on Housing Alliance, long-range planning, Board of Assessment of Review. We do have a lot of applicants and people who want to get involved, and so we try to get more people involved and spread it out a little bit more. And John is the liaison. I'm trying to remember what John said. He also said, he said Cressy or Tyler Davis. Might be a good choice. So I mean, you can move forward with that. I just think. I'm worried about what we'll
Well,
do.
I guess,
Housing Alliance.
when we get to Housing Alliance, we'll get to Housing Alliance, but, it said Jean Marie's first pick was.
Mhm.
So let's finish that. Okay, so, long-range planning. Uh, Any further comments?
I guess I would just say on the, and I appreciate the sensitivity to perception, but I personally don't see any issue or any risk of being seen as inappropriate if a former counselor is on multiple committees. I think she has a lot to offer, and she wants to serve, and she wants to stay connected, and I think there are also some potential benefits and interplay with her new role at the county level. So I wouldn't think that consideration, to me anyway, would outweigh anything else.
Accept the motion. Let's move to appoint Portia Hirschman as a full voting member. Term to expire 2027, Jean Marie Katerina's first alternate, the term to expire 2027. Do I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? None? All in favor? Thank you. Parks and Conservation Land Board. 2 vacancies to fill, and they're both full voting members.
Yep.
That's, we've got a staff recommendation. From the town manager, from Nicole Hall, Community Service Interim Director. And it's, Noah Perlett, who I've served with, he's very good.
That was great.
And Stephen Zamorowski,
Zamorowski, I think is how
I
you
think
say it.
that's how you say it.
Yep.
discussion.
Sure, so this is the board that, they actually didn't have a council liaison until the last couple of years, and so I've been their liaison. It's a very structured board where the only purpose that they have is to review applications for land bond funds. So they review applications, and when they're not reviewing applications, they work on their application process. And so Noah obviously brings so much value to any board that he serves on. So that's great that Noah's willing to renew on that. I was gonna recommend Caitlin Barry. Caitlin has been very active involved with the $6 million land bond, and she was the first resident to reach out to me when they found out the Pleasant Hill disc golf was going up for sale. So she really cares about Scarborough. She kind of has her ear to it, and she really, for months, was just wanting to get involved, didn't know how. She's lived here 11 years. Stephen Zamorowski, we've had his application forever. I'm gonna make a recommendation for him on a different board. He does serve on the Scarborough Land Trust.
No, it doesn't.
Well, he's a
Oh, I looked,
a steward. So,
well, that's,
so I think my issue is, I want to respect the conversations I have had with staff who work for Scarborough Land Trust, who are like, we don't want to have a conflict of interest when they want to apply. I'm concerned about the appearance of, I think we wonder if he would have to exclude himself due to his affiliation with the land trust. And that was one of the chair's concerns, and one of, I think, some of Scarborough Land Trust concerns. They had other members, not him, who wanted to apply to different boards, and I was like, hey, like, you can't be evaluating your own applications. So I think that's where, and I think we got that email from John Anderson as well. It's like, we really want to encourage residents who are getting involved in these specific things, and that's why I recommended Caitlin.
Zarowski's first choice is this committee.
Yep.
And that to me is controlling, and he only wants to be on one committee.
Yeah,
So this is it.
oh no, he
and so-
indicated that he would be on,
He signed up to apply for more than one, but in his application, he says, I only want to be on one committee.
right, and so I'm saying,
And this is his pick.
right, and so I'm concerned.
So
oh,
this is why I'm gonna vote
Yeah,
for
can I
him.
ask a request?
Good.
Could we consult with people to see if they feel like it would be a conflict of interest, as in the chair, the Scarborough Land Trust?
He's not on the board,
Well,
and he's
he-
not an
He
employee,
says he volunteers and works at.
and he
Broadfield.
volunteers. I give him a lot of money.
Right,
I've been on the board.
yeah,
I mean, so this is not a conflict.
yeah,
As a lawyer, I can tell you, not a conflict.
well, I think it's
And
the
so I'm-
appearance, yeah,
And if it creates an appearance, he can recuse himself.
well, and I think
So
that
that's also.
I don't wanna create a board that immediately isn't effective if he does have to recuse himself, and that's where I'm going. I am confused by the conversations I have
So-
had with that, and so I don't wanna,
The
Like that.
overriding thing is he only wants to be on one board and this is it.
well, I think this was his first choice.
Right.
He chose other boards, right?
He put in for more boards, but this was his first choice.
I think, what it was, Karen, is
So
for Counselor Shoup, it asked on the application, will you be willing to serve on more than one committee / board? And he put no.
That's fine.
I think, is that,
right, so
we were,
yeah. So what I'm saying is, this is where he wants to be.
Well, that was his first choice.
And he didn't want to serve on more than one.
Right.
What was
What do you,
the other one?
what do you think, Corey?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate. I appreciate Karen's comments about potential perception of conflict of interest. And also the general desire to have folks be involved. I think based on what you're saying, Bill, I'm not as concerned about potential conflict or perception thereof. I think, I volunteered for the land trust. A lot of us have volunteered or given money over the years and supported different things. I think if something like that in and of itself were to be construed as a disqualifying conflict, it would really limit our options. So I guess I'm inclined to agree with you, Bill. This one. Thank you.
Move to appoint Noah Perlet and Stephen Zemrowski as full voting members, term to expire 2027. Have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Against? 2-1. Personnel Board of Appeals, 2 vacancies. 2 members with terms to expire December 31. One's a full voting member and one is a first alternate. Liam weighed in on this one with Brittany Jackson and Peter Freilinger as the staff's recommendation. You probably all, I don't know. I mean, Peters was on my library board, had been on the library board for years, so I've gotten to know him highly competent.
Yes.
Yeah, and I've served with him on long range, it's similar, yeah.
Peter's great.
The recommendation is to appoint, he is the full voting member, and appoint Penny Whitney as Dorian as first alternate, and appoint Brittany Jackson as second alternate. Liam, you have a handle on this one?
Yeah, it's a board that also, only meets on an as needed basis, like some of our other appeals boards. This is to adjudicate, essentially grievances from non-bargaining personnel, and sort of, that'd be a sort of de facto arbitration process. I don't believe the board has convened in pretty close to 10 years at this point, certainly not in my time, in the last 7 years. So it's not a board that has a great deal of work, but knock on wood, if
So
if
quiet.
you have work, then I have probably a lot of work on my plate as well.
Good, thank you. Further discussion? Can I have a motion, please?
I'll take this one.
Yeah.
Move to appoint Peter Freilinger as a full voting member with a term to expire in 2027. Appoint Penny Whitney as Dorian as first alternate with a term to expire in 2026. And appoint Brittany Jackson as second alternate with a term to expire in 2027.
Second,
Second,
further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Planning board, two vacancies, one's a full voting member, and the second, is an alternate. We seem to have a rather strong endorsement for Jennifer Ladd as a full voting member. And the appointment of Bennett Flanders as first alternate and Tyler Davis as the second alternate. Discussion.
not really. I think if you've been around long enough, you know the value that Jen brings to this. And so then we have the recommendation of Tyler as the second alternate would be the new one as well, or he would be new. And I know that Tyler we've been sitting on his application for a while, so it would be great to see him get involved.
Sounds good. That
Agreed.
makes sense. New person, yeah.
Yep.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Unanimous.
Oh, I don't think.
Or did we read
I don't
it?
think we had an actual motion.
All right,
Oh,
so I will move to
sorry.
appoint Jennifer Ladd as a full voting member with a term to expire in 2027, and then move Bennett Flanders as a first alternate with a term to expire in 2026, and appoint Tyler Davis as a second alternate with a term to expire in 2027.
Further discussion? Second,
Second, so.
all in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Scarborough Housing Alliance Committee, 3 vacancies. 3 members' terms expire at the end of this past year. They're all 3 full voting members. Staff recommendation came from Tom, Eric Boucher, Leroy Crockett, and the appointment of Jean Marie Caterina. Okay. Discussion.
Well, so I know we had received some feedback from Counselor Anderson about recommendations for this committee. And he was asking to see if we could get some new people involved. He would endorse Jean Marie and Eric. And then, and so then I think my recommendation had been to appoint Stephen Zamorowski to have the environmental considerations as part of the conversation. So like I said, I just don't think we can talk about housing in Scarborough without at least talking about some sort of environmental impact. And I think with that new affordable housing and workforce housing that we have along the marsh, I think it's, and I don't know if they're going before the Housing Alliance for any sort of funding or anything.
Yeah, not that I'm aware of, but.
I think it just kind of made us realize, and I think that's the concept, and was that we really want to, and that was the conversation I was having with Counselor Cushing today was, we say we have these goals, but sometimes they're not completely represented, or those perspectives aren't represented on some of these committees. And I'm like, well, why didn't you say that to me earlier? Why didn't you look at all these applications and give us some feedback? That was the only feedback I gave. And so I think we were trying to find that voice, which I thought Stephen Zamorowski might bring. And then I think what John Anderson's feedback was just saying, we want to be equitable. Can we try to get some new people involved here? Because again, we're looking at some applications that have been sitting there for a while, especially like Michael Campbell and Stannis and Stephen.
Corey, what are your thoughts?
I agree, that there could be some benefit to having someone like Steven Zamrowski with that sort of environmental background on Housing Alliance. I think I think there's value in having that voice at the table, and hopefully having some buy-in on the, whatever strategy emerges. We have affordable housing policy as one of our goal-setting items coming up. Jean Marie is certainly qualified. We've already got her on a couple of things. Beyond that, I don't have any real strong feelings. I mean, that this.
Liam, you have Tom's, Hall's, recommendation, Eric Boucher, Leroy Craig, and Jean Marie Caterina.
Don't have anything to add to that.
Okay. All right.
Boucher is certainly very strong.
Yeah, I think Eric and Jean Marie would be great. I mean, Eric's already on there. I think Jean Marie already served as liaison, so she's gonna transition very well. I also think that she's the county commissioner, will be very helpful.
Yes,
I think as well. And so I think we looked at this maybe as an opportunity to try to get someone else involved, where we have a committee member who's already very actively involved in a bunch of committees. We thought maybe this might be a good place to see, to get the environmental consideration or get some of that new conversation in there. Because I know Michael Campbell does have background in this type of stuff. I don't know what his environmental considerations are per se. And then, and this, I almost asked if we should take up transportation before this, because I think Stannis would be good in this committee as well, if we didn't want to, if Stephen doesn't want to be on too, because,
yeah, I mean, again, I'm new to this process, so I don't know how sort of free-flowing discussion should be, but if we feel pretty strongly that both Eric and Jean Marie are very strong fits for a variety of reasons, then to me, it sort of, for that third position, maybe there's a case to be made for Steven Zamrowski as someone who has that environmental perspective. Also, as discussed earlier, is an application that's been there for a while. This wasn't the first choice, but that's just a thought.
Well, given his, he wants to be on one committee, and why did we put him on?
Oh, you're right. I apologize. We did. You're right.
I'll just stick with Tom Hall's recommendation.
You're right.
do you want to do transportation committee before and see if you're willing to put Stannis on there? Would you be willing to discuss putting Stannis on this committee
Transportation?
if we don't put him on?
Sure, let's go to
Yeah,
transportation.
I really appreciate that.
Thanks for, I had forgotten that we could
Well, no, and
only
this,
be on one.
Transportation is, 2 vacancies, and they're 2 full voting members. Stephen Berg and Jennifer Ladd both want to renew. Well, that's sort of, if that's our rule of thumb, if you're in good standing and you want to renew and you're on.
so that was, I don't know if you saw that email exchange. That was what we've started, and that was the process that we've changed in the last couple of years. And that's why everyone's filling out new applications, is what we're saying is just because you sit on that committee doesn't mean you automatically get renewed, because as a new member, you know nothing. So we could get an application from Jen Ladd is a transportation engineer. But if she didn't put that in our application and we didn't know that, she just said I like Scarborough and I like to talk about transportation. And so we've asked everyone to fill them out, and so we can reevaluate every renewal on the face of that, because I will tell you, we have changed that practice, and we've most recently did that on the Conservation Commission, and we did it on another committee as well, where we just said, we have such strong applicants who are experts in these fields, or we'll change the conversation. And I think we're trying to shift the conversation a lot in Scarborough personally, to talk more about the environment and things like that. And so I think we're trying to spread that across all of the committees. And so that's not the kind of the new standard practice. And that's kind of why I was surprised to see that language at on our memo. And so when we talk about the transportation committee, you know, John Anderson and I were both talking about Stannis Moody Roberts. If you've paid attention at all, I mean, Stannis is beyond motivated and extremely involved. He's done substantial research for the Gorham connector. He's really committed to, I think, Scarborough as a whole, but also solving that problem. And that is a huge problem that we're going to be dealing with over the next couple of years, because we don't have the Gorham connector proposal right now. So then when I was like, well, who, you know, I don't want to remove a member without understanding who I'm removing. So,
I don't understand the, Angela Bichette says recommends the reappointment of Berg and Ladd, then appointment of Stannis Moody Roberts. What's that mean?
That was her third choice. He was her
Yep.
third choice, so if you didn't do Stephen or Jennifer, the third choice would be Stannis.
and so I guess this is a preference where I did not know people who didn't live in Scarborough could serve on our boards. I do feel like if we have someone from Scarborough who we think would be a valuable member, we should try to put them on there. And so, Stannis, I think, would be really good. I think everyone who's been involved understands and appreciates the value that Stannis brings. Steve Bergs he slides into a role that the transportation committee, or no,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm pulling that up right now. So transportations, there's a couple of committees that require different pieces. So transportation requires a long-range planning rep. Someone in the business community, which that is where Stephen has been, so he doesn't have to be a resident because he has a business located in Scarborough. And 2 resident positions, a planning board three resident positions, a planning board representative, and a first alternate.
right. So I went and looked at the current makeup of the transportation committee, and Craig Robinson actually is a Scarborough resident and is on the Chamber of Commerce. So he would be able to fill the role that Stephen currently fills. Because I was like, we can't eliminate someone who fills in that position. We actually have someone on that committee right now who would fill that role.
That role can go to a SEDCO member or a Chamber of Commerce
Right,
member.
and so they already have one on there. And so I think knowing we're not eliminating a position that isn't, that position will still be represented on that committee already. I think there's strong recommendations and endorsements for Stannis. I think when residents get this involved, we should acknowledge that involvement
Mhm.
and passion and research and encourage their involvement. He's patiently been waiting to be on the transportation committee. And I think.
So your suggestion is that, Stain Moody Roberts?
Stannis Moody Roberts, yeah,
Be, nominated in lieu of Stephen Berg.
correct, yep, and I think that was the recommendation that we received from another counselor as well.
So you would need to move Craig up to Stephen's spot, and then that would leave Stannis as first alternate. Yeah. And I can get you those terms if that's what you guys are looking.
So say that again?
It would bring Craig Robinson with a term to expire in 2026.
Yeah.
To Stephen Berg's position, and then you would put Stannis as first alternate
Mhm.
with a term to expire in 27. If
Right.
that's what you guys were looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I have, you know, as Karen knows, I'm somewhat ambivalent about the, you know, the notion of taking someone off a committee if they've been serving in good faith. I do understand the rationale, some of the rationale behind that, and sort of wanting to be able to leverage new voices and create more access for new voices. I think in a situation like this, I'm a little more comfortable with it being a non-resident who's in that sort of business representative capacity. So I think between that and you know, as Karen has said, I think Stannis, you know, has stepped up and given the relevance of that Gorham connector issue, I think could be a valuable addition to that committee, so. Under those specific circumstances, I would be okay with that arrangement.
Liam, what do you think?
I'm supportive of that proposal. Those thoughts.
Good, I'll take a motion.
Okay, so I move to appoint Jennifer Ladd as a full voting member with a term to expire in 2027. Move Craig Robinson as a full voting member with a term to expire in 2026. And appoint Stannis Moody Roberts as a first alternate with a term to expire in 2027.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in
Oh, sorry.
favor?
No, I'm like,
Unanimous.
okay, I appreciate you doing
Yeah.
that. So then we can go back and do the
Okay.
other one. I really, that was important, I think,
Uh,
for the residents.
okay, we're back at Housing Alliance.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll stick with Tom's recommendations on that. I think that is where I am.
And I just would say, I would like to see a new member on there. I would like to acknowledge the recommendation that we received from another counselor to try to get Michael Campbell on a committee. We put Steven Zamorowski on the other committee, and so I would be recommending, Michael Campbell on that one. Brittany's already serving on too many now.
Corey?
I think I would go with staff recommendation on this.
Can
I'll take a motion.
Yes, Kristen?
Nope.
Oh, sorry.
Move to appoint Eric Boucher, Leroy Crockett, and Jean Marie Caterina as full voting members with a term to expire in 2027.
Second. Further discussion? See no further discussion, motion, favor, opposed, 2-1. Thank you. And we dealt with the Senior Advisory Board.
Oh, that's the one that we're terminating.
Oh.
Well,
That's the one, rules and policies will
All right,
yeah.
consider evaluating the term.
Shellfish Conservation Commission, 2 vacancies, include 2 members whose terms expire and have expired a couple of weeks ago. So they're 2 full voting members. Erickson and Erickson. Liam would like to renew and submit an application. Paul has termed out. So Paul's not eligible. Liam would like to renew and has submitted an application. Following applications have been submitted, Gonzar, Liam Erickson, and Samuel Cafone. And that's a first committee choice. Staff recommendation, Darren Granada. The harbor master recommends reappointment of Liam Erickson and appointment of Julie Gonzar. Recommendation, move to appoint Erickson as full voting member and appoint Jason Quirk as a full voting member with term period, and Julie Gonzar as the first alternate. So we have 2 vacancies, but what we have is 1 person moving up to a first alternate position. Am I,
Correct, yep, Jason Quirk right now is first alternate, so that's bumping him up to a full voting member.
okay. Discussion,
No, these recommendations seem fine.
accept the motion.
I move to appoint Liam Erickson as a full voting member with a term to expire in 2027. Appoint Jason Quirk as a full voting member with a term to expire in 2026. And appoint Julie Gonzar as a first alternate with a term to expire in 2027.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Second.
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 Thank you.
Yep.
Keep us honest. Sustainability Committee. 3 vacancies, so there are 3 full voting members. We have Ron Allen, Richard Bunking, and David Kirsten. All had their terms expire. Ron, Allen would like to renew and submitted a new application. Richard and David are both termed out. Following applications have been submitted: Brittany Jackson, David Cunhard, Dan Shapiro, Jeff Gesick. First and only committee choice, Julie Gonzar, who I think we had on something else, Liam Erickson, Donald Allen, first and only committee choice, Stannis Moody Roberts, and Stephen Zimmerowski. So Jamie weighs in on this one. Obviously, a reappointment of Ron Allen and appointment of Dan Shapiro.
This was, I can speak to this, Jamie and I had one discussion about this, when she was reviewing applications. For one of her other committees, I can't remember which one it was, Dan Shapiro's application was in that, and his experience. She thought would be the best fit for sustainability. So she did give him a call and I spoke to him and so did she. He didn't originally put sustainability because he wasn't 100% sure what that exactly entailed and things like that. After a long discussion with Jamie, he is very interested in that position and that, they both would like to,
That's good.
Well, and Dan has come to our meetings, he's spoken.
Yeah.
And so
So you've heard him.
yes.
Yeah. I
Uh,
believe he was at last council meeting.
He was, yeah.
Further discussion? I'll accept the motion.
I move to appoint Ronald Allen as a full voting member with a term to expire in 2027. Appoint Linda Jopp as a full voting member with a term to expire in 2025. Appoint Patrice Kastenholtz to first alternate with a term to expire in 2026. And appoint Dan Shapiro as a second alternate with a term to expire in 2027.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all of it. Unanimous, thank you. I think we did transportation.
We just did
We
transportation, yeah.
ZBA. Oh, God, takes me back. How many ZBAs I appeared in front of them? All of Southern New Hampshire. There are 3 vacancies, which include the 3 members with terms who have expired 2 weeks ago. And there are 3 full voting members. Terms to expire were David Bork, Peter Freilinger, and Christine Snow. David and Peter want to renew, and Christine did not reapply. We have the following applications: Bork, Crockett, Campbell, Freilinger, which is his first committee choice, and Stephen Zimmerowski. And let's see what we got. Brian Longstaff weighed in. Bork and Freilinger. And the recommendation is to appoint Bork and Freilinger as full voting members. And appoint Kyle Noonan as a full voting member with the term to expire 2025. Doherty as first alternate, Zimmerowski as second alternate. Discussion.
Well, Stephen only wants to serve on one committee.
Right.
And we already put him on one.
So that sort of says Joseph Doherty.
So Joe's already on it. So those are movements. So we're moving Joe up and we're moving Kyle up. So
Yep.
really what we're looking at is we want to renew David and Peter, which I would support. I actually served on the zoning board at the same time as them and they're both great. But what we need to do is this second alternate. Now, I understand he recommended Stephen Zamorowski, but Stephen said, I only want to serve on one board.
I
So-
guess when you're the second alternate, you're not serving,
But you still have to show up.
do you?
Yes. If they don't, especially with
They-
that committee, because they need to vote, like the attorneys show up, like
Yeah.
they need a quorum.
They still attend and then if there's
Yeah.
not a voting member,
Yeah, this is the
There.
ZBA. isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, so similar. planning board.
So I don't know if maybe this would be a committee that we could put Michael Campbell on. Because he applied to this one and we have not placed him on any committee yet.
Michael Campbell?
Yes.
I'm good with
Yeah,
that.
that's.
I think
that one's- He's been.
he's willing to do it.
there.
I think that's fine.
I'll accept the motion.
Okay, so I move to appoint David Bork and Peter Freilinger with the full voting members with terms to expire in 2027. Appoint Kyle Noonan as a full voting member with a term to expire in 2025. Appoint Joseph Doherty as a first alternate with a term to expire in 2026. And Michael Campbell as a second alternate with a term to expire in 2027.
Do I
Second.
have a Second?
Yeah.
Seconded. The discussion, need none, all in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. 55 minutes.
Look at that.
I.
You're good. You're good. Look at that.
We still got some items
Yeah,
though.
we still got.
No, we're done.
2 more items,
What do we got?
future agenda items and to adjourn.
Oh, yeah. All right, future agenda items. What do you got?
If
for
there's
us?
any open, typically how we've handled it is if there's an opening that comes up, it's automatically added to the agenda. But beyond that, it would be if there was anything that you guys wanted to add.
That's really it, isn't it? If something comes up, a person resigns.
Yeah, and I think once that happens, then when we have a meeting, we can have discussions about maybe some of these non-active committees, but I don't think we need to meet to just discuss.
No, I agree.
And I know,
Personally.
and
Let's get-
sometimes the meetings were
Covered, right.
canceled the week prior because no one applied or there was no openings or anything. I think there was a couple times last year that the
Yeah, we
committee didn't meet at all because there was
Yeah.
nothing to discuss.
I think that we'll be in abeyance for a while. Item 9, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you. Dennis.
3 minutes
That
to
was good.
spare.
That was good.
That was great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.